Hello again, everybody. This is attorney Mark Brunner. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Talking Texas Law. Well, today let's talk about community service hours, or what's also called community service restitution hours, or CSR hours. These are hours of time that a defendant who is on probation or deferred adjudication here in Texas will be required to kind of give back and work for the betterment of the community as part of their sentence. The amount of community service hours that a person is required to do. In some counties, that's negotiable. That's something that you can kind of bargain with from the defense counsel and the defendant, bargaining with the state prosecutor about how many hours a particular defendant is going to serve. In other counties, however, the amount of community service is not negotiable. It's pretty much fixed. The courts may have gotten together and the judges amongst themselves have decided, in this county, for this offense, it's this many hours. For that offense, it's that many hours, or depending on the level of the offense, what have you. So again, it always pays to know what kind of county you're dealing with, what may or may not be part of the bargain. So what happens if someone is required to serve community service hours? What does that really mean? Well, the way someone chooses to do community service hours here in Texas really kind of falls into two broad categories, what I call free choice hours or versus directed hours. Let's talk about free choice. Free choice is basically the probation department telling the defendant, look, you work your hours at any charitable, governmental, or non-profit organization. That's the universe of what is required that you can be allowed to pick your hours from and work at any type of organization that meets those criteria. Charitable, governmental, or nonprofit. Now, nonprofit doesn't just mean, hey, I'm working for free. My college roommate has a dad who's an accountant. I'm going to go work at his office and do some filing and not get paid. Or my uncle has a garage. I'm going to go help him change tires for customers and not get paid. That's free work. That's charity. Doesn't work like that. Again, it's got to be not at a business that makes profit. It's got to be something that is charitable, nonprofit, governmental, a charity hospital, a local library, the pet shelter, a school, different churches, things like that, boys and girls clubs, Girl Scouts, possibly Boy Scouts, things like that, some sort of organization that is a charitable, governmental, or nonprofit organization. At any time, there will be a method to track the hours that you're working. It's very important. A lot of counties these days especially, you can go online. The probation department will give you a link to a place where you will go in and track where you have done your service hours at to make sure it's also being done also at an approved location. So, keep track of your hours there. Other counties will give you just an old school piece of paper, a CSR tracking log, and that's going to require you to get filled out properly to get credit for your hours. It's going to ask you, to fill out the date, when you serve the hours, for how long, most importantly, where you did the hours, a name of a supervisor or someone who can verify you did those hours, and usually some sort of contact information like a phone call. Because again, the probation department is going to want to try to verify that you did the hours that you said you did. One big giant caveat is if you fill out a form like that or go online and say you worked hours when you didn't in fact work those hours, that could be construed as tampering with a governmental record. That is a separate criminal offense. That's serious business, folks. You don't want to just cheat on your hours by saying you worked somewhere when you didn't work there at all, or inflate your hours. That can get you into mega hot water. It's a brand new offense, so you're already violating your probation there. And you're going to burn up any kind of trust you have with your probation officer and your judge. So just not worth it. One thing to keep in mind in doing your community service hours, anytime you do have a physical log that you're going to hand over to your probation officer each month or at each visit saying, hey, these are the months, for the month of June, here are my hours. For the month of July, here are my hours. If you're going to hand a document like a community service log over to your probation officer, make a copy for yourself, keep a copy for yourself. You don't want to get to the end of your probation and there's a dispute about how many hours you worked and you've got no way to prove you did the time, you did the work already. If you've got a hard copy, you can go back and create that paper trail and say, look, I've got 12 months worth of CSR logs here. You've got 11, you're missing a month, I've got it. They can then go back and recreate those hours. Also, you don't want to work a bunch of hours at a place that doesn't qualify. Please check with your probation officer, verify that if you have a free choice system, then they are allowing you to actually work at the place that qualifies. You don't want to think that you're okay working for this charter school or whatever, and you realize it's not a charitable operation, and so it doesn't qualify, and you've wasted your time, and you have to go someplace else. So that's sort of like when I talked about free choice, that's sort of the free choice method of doing community service here in Texas. There's also what I call determined, where they, the probation department or the court or both say, instead of you getting to pick your hours and your location, they're telling you, hey, on this day, you show up, you're going to do 4 hours, you're going to do 8 hours, you're doing this job or whatever. It may be a certain scheme like that. It may simply be, I know like down in Caldwell County, Texas, they just tell people, hey, come to the court at 8 o'clock in the morning on such and such a day, we'll find work for you. You may be seeing people push brooms around, cleaning up there at the courthouse. I know in Williamson County sometimes it's determined that they will tell people that are required to do the community service not by free choice but by what Wilco tells them to do, to show up at this certain parking lot. There'll be a bus there. You don't know what kind of work you're going to be doing, but they're just going to be grabbing people. And, you know, this bus goes to that project, this bus goes to that project. Be prepared to stay. Work your 4 hours, work your 8 hours. You don't get to choose. But again, every county is different. For certain levels of offenses, they may let you do it free choice. Other times they may say, nope, you got to do what we tell you to do, how we tell you to do it. So again, every county is different. Also know that sometimes a lot of counties will have these special events sort of to boost participation in certain charity events. So they may say something like especially around the holidays, they may say like, hey, if you make a donation to a local food bank, or prior to Christmas, you give a toy to Toys for Tots or Brown Santa or something like that. They will give you service hours for donations to certain charities at certain times of the year. So not every county runs something like this, but frequently they do. So please, keep in touch with your probation officer, see what opportunities there may be where you can do certain things for a county-defined charity that you will get community service credit for towards your sentence. So that's a little bit about community service hours, CSR hours here in Texas. As always, this video is being offered for educational and informational purposes only. It's not to be construed as giving specific legal advice and doesn't take the place of a sit-down, true legal consultation. And unless you are already a contracted client of mine, I'm not your lawyer. Well, this has been Attorney Mark Brunner. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Talking Texas Law. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing to this channel. That way you'll get new updates showing that when we have new videos posted about interesting topics here in Texas law. So thank you so much for joining me again, and I'll see y'all next time.